Hello everybody, I am Mike the Rat Guy, also known as I Calls 'em Like I Sees 'em. That'll be explained in some other video. Basically, what this is going to be is the beginning of a series in which I go to Google Earth, Google Maps, etc., and I'm going to take you to various locations where noteworthy incidents have taken place, largely crime, true crime, famous murders, stuff like that. It seems a little bit grim, but, everyone's got their own interests. I'm interested in video games, Star Wars, I'm a film buff, I have an extremely soft spot for animals and stuff like that. So, everyone's got their own thing. It's just one of my interests also happens to be true crime. Serial killers, the criminal justice system, stuff like that, forensic analysis, so on and so forth. I love watching criminal TV as long as it's real. I love Cops, I love Live PD, I love, Forensic Files, Cold Case Files, CD Confidential, all that kind of stuff. Just something, that I dig. And for the longest time, since having Google Earth, the first time I really fucked around with and really kind of discovered the power of Google Earth, which to me was really one of the most amazing pieces of technology to come across in the last 10 or 15 years of my life, was probably about 2005. And I originally used it to, I no longer lived in my home city at that point of southeastern Wisconsin, and it was very nostalgic for me to go back and, from an entirely different town, literally across the world, across the country. I was living in California at the time. I had a lot of nostalgia being able to look back and, see my old neighborhoods and see how things changed while I no longer lived there and so on and so forth. Now, it didn't take long for me to then start thinking, hey, wouldn't it be really cool to actually get a real feel for, three-dimensionally kind of take a look at where other things occurred, like things that, again, like the O.J. Simpson murder, the JFK assassination, stuff like that. You can read about it, you can read about the times and the dates and the wheres and the whys and all that, that kind of stuff, but until you actually really kind of see it, and get a really, good kind of visual image as to where these areas are in relation to other areas and stuff that you are and are not familiar with. It's kind of vague. It's kind of it almost feels like it's kind of not that it's not real, but you can't really make that connection until you've really, I think, delved into, those kind of details. And so, long story short, I had a habit of doing this with Google Earth, and more so than Google Maps, but a little bit of both. And on Google Earth, I got in the habit of putting the pins and actually making markers or whatever on all the different spots that I found interesting. And before I knew it, I had tons of different folders with tons of different subjects grouped by various, here's where famous murders took place, here's where a bunch of my childhood locations were, here's where people I, knew, used to live and stuff like that. And while I am not the first person to do this, I don't, not only just what I described, but specifically, I'm not the first person to put this kind of stuff online and to talk to you about where some of these, crimes and stuff like that happened. I don't mean to rip off or anything like that, any of other people who have done that, but I have taken inspiration from it. I thought, well, I'm already doing that anyway for my own entertainment and interest and, research and so forth, so what the hell, why not share that with others? Now, my site, my YouTube channel has, I can't off the top of my head, I can't even think about it, maybe 300 different videos, many of them video game related, whatever. I've got some comedic shit on there, just some goofy stuff. I have a video on there of me acting like a total asshole, just being a goofball, which was only ever intended to be seen by one person, but they encouraged me to upload it, and it got a fair amount of response, so, cool enough. But if you were watching this, if you were seeing this right now, there is a very strong chance, I'd say probably a 90% chance, that you have gotten here because you saw the video where I narrate the audio tape of the serial torturer and alleged killer of women, David Parker Ray. Now, I've also learned that no one reads the descriptions on a YouTube video, ever. So, just to make it clear, yes, I've got to tell you that I'm the guy that did the voice and said, hey there, bitch, and talked all about torturing women and so on and so forth. That's me. I'm the one who did the tape. I'm the one who did the recording. Those are not my words, but I'm the one who read them out loud. And just a quick, little moment here. I have to acknowledge I was born a very shy person. I have anxiety issues. I will actually discuss this at some point to really kind of help you guys understand who I am, if any of you care. But the point is, don't think that your comments have gone unnoticed. I made my YouTube channel with the expectation that it would be just for me to fuck around with, for me to simply share things that I find interesting with whoever else out there might also happen to find them interesting, commune with people who think that whatever, this game's cool, or enter a debate with, somebody else about a certain movie or whatever, show some stuff to my friends who also get a kick out of it, whatever. It was, I have no aspirations then and now about being this, hugely millionaire, monetized, I'm not into that. That's not why I did this channel. I'm not in this for money. I'm in this for entertainment. I'm in this just for fun, just for interest, just for me to use YouTube as a platform through which to explore various things that I find compelling. And nonetheless, the simple fact that whether it was by TikTok, which I don't even know what the fuck that is, I'm not into social media, whether it was from the video of a person apparently named Bailey, who had the very interesting idea of doing her makeup while also illustrating the details of various different crime cases. I think that was a really cool idea. No matter what, all that attention sort of funneled back through various searches that led to my video. When I made my Toybox killer video, that's the name of David Parker Ray. First of all, just to make it clear, because again, not everyone reads the... I'd say probably 5% of the people out there actually bother to read the description. From this point forward, I always put stuff in the description that I try to actually include important stuff that you might want to know. So from this point on, look at them from time to time, whatever. No harm, no foul, whatever, it's cool. But the point is, when I made that video, here's why I made it. I myself, as interested as I have been all my life in these various things, I hadn't actually heard of that case until late last year. And I thought, how have I possibly missed out on what is actually a rather noteworthy case? An unforgettable case. No, he didn't kill and eat people, publicly or whatever, like fucking Dahmer did. Fun fact, my childhood home, as the crow flies, is literally 35 miles away, door to door, to Tyson's old... Tyson, what? I live by Mike Tyson now. I lived 35 miles away from where Dahmer committed most of his crimes. I lived 35 miles from his apartment. I actually visited the Milwaukee Museum, which was right down the road from when he was doing what he was doing, while he was doing it. I lived 45 miles in the other direction from John Wayne Gacy. I lived a few hours south of Ed Gein. So I was kind of surrounded. I saw horrible car accidents and shit when I was a little kid. So all this stuff kind of comes together to make me a little bit macabre. I'm a good guy, but again, I have my interests. I don't condone what any of these people did, but I find their cases compelling. Now, having said that, because of this, I looked up the case. Let me move the image here just so hey, something to look at, right? There, change of pace. I'll get to it very shortly, I promise. This is going to be the first in a series. I swear to you, not all of them will be this long. I have an anxiety disorder, whatever it's called, GAD. I'll talk about it sometime. And I have a lot of thoughts to share, and in the future, the videos will get more to the point. So if this is boring you, I'm sorry. Please stick with it if you will. It won't stay this way. It's going to get more interesting. But here's the story. I made that David Parker Ray tape transcript. The words are all his, verbatim. The laughs are all placed where it says that he laughed. I didn't make any of it up. It's just my voice. But now the thing is, when I did that threw my channel into, relatively speaking, for me, the stratosphere. On average, I expect my videos... Because, again, I'm not in this for popularity or points or money or whatever else. This is just me, just fucking around for my friends and myself, whatever. But that video was watched by, it's encroaching now 100,000 people, which is, I would say, roughly probably at least 50,000 views higher than anything I've ever done on YouTube in the past, including on my old Mike the Rat Guy account, which was deleted because of movie copyright, which things have come a long way, but, whatever. And the simple fact is, the vast majority of people on that site, if they're not talking about, rightfully so, how disgusting the content is of the tape, they are discussing how amazing the voice is. They say, is this the real thing? I mean, again, it's clear in the description that it's not, but, fair enough, whatever. It's still a compliment. People say, is this the real thing? I can't believe that the voice actor is this good, blah, blah, blah. I just want to take a minute to say, quite honestly, from the bottom of my heart, seriously, that means a hell of a lot to me. I mean, that is encouraging. That is, that gives me great humility. That makes me feel really good about the fact that, hey, I'm entertaining people. In a weird way, yes. But I sincerely appreciate that. The fact that many of you think that I've done a good job, feel that I am worth listening to, whatever. I sincerely appreciate that because that is the whole reason I made that video. When I first heard about this case, I wanted to bring attention to it. And I thought, what better way than YouTube? I went and looked it up. At the time, there were 2 other recordings of it. 2 other recordings of the same tape transcript, which to my knowledge and deep, research, was never fully released. Only a few snippets of it. There's a total of 20 or 30 seconds of his voice out there that you can piece together. Now, I do not mean to shame whatever, catch me in a, snotty mood and I'll be hyperbolic, but simple fact is, I'm not out to try and rip on anybody else. But the 2 videos that I listened to, very briefly, one of the tape transcripts sounded like a robot. It sounded literally somebody fed the script through some kind of like a voice recognition simulator or something like that, voice, whatever. The other one sounded like, first of all, the person was kind of jerky in his comments, so I don't feel too bad about saying this, but the simple fact is, the guy didn't have the right voice for it. He didn't have the right voice. He didn't practice. He put what seemed to be very little effort in what he did. I'm 41 years old. I have a light voice for 41, but this kid sounded like this. He was young. And he literally sounded like he was reading from a script. His inflections were basically like this, and he just kind of read what was in front of him, and he didn't go back to correct his fuck-ups like that. It was like that. Worse, it was in the most outrageously, almost deliberately, comedically, stereotypical hick voice you could possibly imagine. And it fucked everything up. Not only was it not creepy, not effective, not realistic, but most importantly, not in any way resembling the actual voice, I thought, someone needs to do a better job. This case is an important case. Out of respect to the victims, out of respect to simple objective curiosity, someone needs to get out there and say, no, here's what was actually said, here's what it probably actually sounded like. I went and listened to what little of the voice I could. I read the transcript through several times. I practiced over the course of several days. I don't think I did a perfect job, but I apparently did a good enough job that people liked it and believed it to actually be the real thing, which, yes, I do find flattering because that was, in fact, the goal. So, having said all that, there's a whole reason for me to get to this. That video, again, is probably why any of you are here on this one right now. Again, I've got tons of other videos on my channel. I'm not going to say go watch them all. I will never, ever, unless it's for the point of mockery, ever beg you to subscribe or to like my videos as if somehow that has some kind of practical effect on my ability to create more of them for you. I'm standing here with a microphone in my hand. It doesn't matter how many fucking votes I've got or subscribers I've got. I can do this any day of the week just like any other person out there who's got $1 million begging for your support. So, whatever. A little snotty, yes, but whatever. It is what it is. My point is, I'm just the guy. I'm just here to inform, entertain, just have fun, whatever. Share knowledge with other like-minded people. So if you're here, long story short, it's probably because of that video. So, because of this, I have chosen David Parker Ray to be my first of the cases that I will kind of show you a little bit more about. I'm not going to go into the whole story. This is not going to be more about really telling. This is going to be more about showing. If I were to illustrate the full background details or whatever of the case, that would go beyond the scope of what I'm trying to achieve. All that information's out there. in the form of documentaries, one of which I link to in the description, which is very good. If you haven't gone back and watched it, please do so. Don't just compliment me on my voice, which, again, I greatly appreciate. That's not bullshit. But go check out that documentary. It's good stuff. It's not just some jack-off online. It's an actual professionally made piece of actual good stuff that really will educate you as to what really happened. The full details, not just the tape. So, because you're here, I want to show you where it took place. I want to give you a sense of area, of environment. I want to show you the landscape. I want to kind of show you what the place looked like. I don't want you to just imagine in your head, what was it like? Like what, did he live around a lot of other people or whatever, et cetera, et cetera. The whole point of these is, again, to show you where things happened. First and foremost, this series is about showing you where things took place. I will try to let you come more or less to your own conclusions. I will try to let you do mostly your own research. I will raise, awareness of, what happened. But this is going to be a series all about showing you the wheres, of the various cases. So now, without further ado, because I've blabbed enough, I probably lost at least 2/3 of the people watching by this point. But let's see if I can actually find America, which shouldn't be too hard because I live there. Today's first case, as you can see, all of these marks, and there's more that are, currently just, not showing up or whatever right now. They're hidden or, blocked away in another folder. These are all things that I've investigated, looked up, found interesting, whatever, and, like I said, I've been doing this for years. I'm not the first person to do it. I won't be the last. I'm not the first person to make this into a video for YouTube. I won't be the last. Again, this isn't meant to infringe on anyone else's idea. I just happen to think that this is a good thing to want to share with other people. So, again, today we're about David Parker Ray. So, as you see, he was here in New Mexico. About, from the looks of it, maybe 100 miles, 50 miles south of Albuquerque. A little shorter west of Roswell, which of course are where aliens are currently living right now, selling, secrets to the government and so forth. I don't honestly believe that, but I do kind of believe in aliens, but that's a story for another point. Story for another day, I should say. Here we have, it's called Hot Springs Landing, but David Parker Ray is mostly associated with Elephant Butte. Now, I'm not sure if Hot Springs Landing is just like a, a little bit of a, like a village or whatever, like an outlying, area of Elephant Butte or what. You can see that Elephant Butte is this, rectangular, very oddly precise rectangular area. And then over here, right here by this reservoir, this man-made lake, which sadly I forgot the name of, and I don't think YouTube really shows you what the name of it is. If I fucked with the settings, it probably would, but I don't have, ain't nobody got time for that. Over here is David Parker Ray's house. Right there. This is how it looks now, as you can see the date, April 1st, 2015. I don't think I can go any further. No. Presumably, I'm sorry, not YouTube, but Yahoo is pretty good about this. I don't think that any substantial changes have happened to this area since then. But I do want to kind of show you. See, right off the bat, people have said, well, how could he have possibly? He was accused of killing like 60 people or whatever. Where are all the bodies? Okay, well, you tell me. Does that look like somewhere where maybe you could hide a body? Like, seriously? Do you really think it would have been that tough? Look at this. There are mine shafts all over here. There are countless fucking, little mountainous peaks and shit. There are... And then you've got, a giant lake with a reservoir, like a block away from the guy's house. There are plenty of places to hide a body. While it is true that he was never convicted of actual murder, he was accused of it by several people, and the police do, in fact, firmly believe that he was responsible not just for one or two, but dozens. So now, as I get in close, I will let you kind of soak in the overhead look a little bit. Now, right off the bat, one thing I want to show you. Right here is a propane tank, an outdoor propane tank. Here's clearly his house, as clearly indicated by the thumb. Help me out, please. The thumb stick, the not thumbnail, but push pin, whatever the fuck the thing is. The point is, the trailer was right here. Let me get in a little bit closer. Here's the front door, right around here. Here's the water heater. Here's the, why am I forgetting everything? Here's the, propane tank. The trailer was right here. There was a big satellite dish sticking off on one side of it. It faced more or less the north/northwest. More than northeast, actually, now that I look at it. But yeah, right here, like right by the guy's front door, was the trailer. Now, something to bear in mind is the fact that when you go and listen to the tape, again, there's someone who I know, who I'm very close to, who really doesn't like when I do the voice. So for that person, skip ahead a few seconds. I apologize. But there's a point in the tape where David says something like, we're not too concerned about you getting away. We live in the mountains and live in the woods, and there's not really, much of a chance of you escaping. You're fucking sure not gonna go anywhere. Stuff like that. Now, I bring that up because that makes me curious. I do not yet know the full extensive details of the tape. The tape was made in 1993, and it's entirely possible Ray didn't live here at that time. And if not, that does make me wonder. Did he live in New Mexico? Did he live in another state? Did he really, honestly, in fact, tell the truth about that detail? Did he actually, because he went on about how he lived in a heavily wooded area. He said he had very few neighbors. They were very far away. He said, he was contradictory. He said something like, by all means, if you want to test us, go ahead and run around outside. No one's going to care. No one's going to hear you. We have very confident feelings about the fact that you're not going to get found, etc. But at the same time, he also said, don't test us. Be quiet. I don't like noise. That pisses me off more than anything. So that makes me wonder, was that just another psychological trick? Was the 1993 tape made when he was right here? And if so, I have to admit that just makes the whole case that much sadder, because these poor women who were tortured in unimaginable ways were just feet away from people in almost every compass direction who would have been, I don't want to say thrilled, but, they would have put their lives on the line to help these women if only they knew what was going on. I mean, you have people across the street. You have people, literally 15, 30 feet away from where the trailer was. That's actually probably more of a garage, but I mean, look at this. This right here is the boundary. I'm going to trace it right now. This is the boundary. You can see the fence line, in fact, of David Parker Ray's property. He lived on a major road. It was dirt, but it was nonetheless a major road, surrounded by people. I believe this is a business, or at least is now. You will see it up close in street view. Perhaps that as well. But this is clearly, there's people around. Any girl who got out, and this was proven to be the case, when I sincerely apologize if I forgot her name off the top of my head, but the final victim did, in fact, escape. Ray was caught because a woman, and this is not to say anything about the women who did not do this, one woman was brave enough. This was not anything on Ray. This was not anything about the goodness of his heart or anything like that. One woman, was ballsy enough to fucking break free of her restraints when Ray wasn't around. It was one of his female, I think actually it was the one who was just released. I'll get to that in a minute. She broke free of her restraints, had a lamp broken across her head, and it didn't matter. She went and grabbed a fucking ice pick, which God knows what an ice pick was doing in the trailer, and slammed it into the female captor's neck, and ran naked and handcuffed out of the fucking building and was promptly rescued, and that was the beginning of the end. And God bless the fact that she did it, because if not, who knows about his heart attack. Ray, in fact, did die, and I think it was 2003, of a heart attack. But who's to say, what would have happened? Had she not escaped, at the very least, that would have been 3 more years of more women being tortured and or killed. So, she deserves, in fact, mention. While you're looking at this, let me get in close. I have a tablet over here on my left with Wikipedia open right now. Again, I'm not going to go over all the specifics of the case, because that goes well beyond the scope of these videos. But let's see. We'll surely mention her. Cynthia Vigil. Ray posed as an undercover police officer and approached Cynthia Vigil in a parking lot. He told her she was under arrest for solicitation of sex work and handcuffed her. He put her in his trailer and took her to Elephant Butte. After 3 days of captivity, Vigil escaped from his trailer at Elephant Butte on March 22nd, 1999. There was another woman who I think was, strangely enough, willingly released, as he sometimes was wont to do, who was identified later by the FBI from an intricate tattoo that was on one of her legs that was viewable in one of his sex videos. He did not actually have a lot of those, contrary to popular belief, but there were a few, and some women were identifiable within them, and this poor beautiful woman, who again is in the documentary in my description, please watch it. If you're at all interested in this case, you will feel rewarded having watched that documentary. It's good, chilling stuff. She also was able to get away, and, it's sad that she came to understand what happened to her, after everything went down. But as you look here at his place, I'm now going to go into some of the more interesting stuff. Sadly, as most of you know, the earlier that you go with, and I might have said YouTube sometimes, my mind wanders, when I, in fact, meant Google Earth, which don't sound anything alike, but sometimes I just fuck them up, whatever. If you go back in time, most of you are used to the fact that the imagery gets worse. That's still pretty good. That's still actually very good. But as you see, like, that looks like vomit, sneezed out of somebody's penis. So, I guess apparently just over the course of, between like the late 2000s and the early 2010s, people suddenly realized, oh, video can actually be sharp. I kid. It's way more than I could ever invent. Now, right about here, we're dealing with 2005. His trailer would no longer have been there, but you can see that white spot there. That's still the propane tank. And obviously that is still his house, with much of it blocked by trees, which you will see shortly. The earliest back you can go is 96, and guess what? What's that right there? That right there, my friends, is the trailer in question. There's the house. There's the propane tank, if you don't believe me, right there. Let's skip ahead. Propane tank. House, obviously. Propane tank. House. You can compare even the propane tank to the adjacent, structure over on the other property. Right there. They're in identical places. So this is undeniable evidence here that what you were looking at, the time matches up as well. This is October 1st, 96, less than 3 years before he was caught. Zooming in does very little, so I'll kind of, right about there is probably okay. Right that's the torture trailer, friends. Anything you read about in his tape talking about, fucking the girl with super large dildos and putting her in a box so his fucking dog can have sex with him and all that horrible shit, that all took place well, technically the dog stuff supposedly took place in his house, so that's horrible too. But here's the trailer. Right there. Still on the property. And you know what's creepy? There's someone in it right now. What are the odds that that's empty right now? As this photo was taken, do you really think that there was just no one in there? Go back and look at what some of this guy says. There's a good chance that there was someone in there pretty much every day of the week. So that's horrifying, actually, is what it is. Now that you've seen that, let's move forward to the next step. And again, I can't stress this enough. Watch the documentary that I linked to in the description of my transcript tape. It's pretty close to the beginning, I think, of the description, which again, I know I've learned now, no one reads, or very few people read, but, I'm not trying to mock you, I'm not trying to make fun of you, but it's just there's a lot of good information sometimes in descriptions, so check it out. But what it does, if I recall correctly, is it shows a cop from literally like 2016, 17, it's pretty new. Shows him right here, in maybe not the wealthiest looking, but, you see boats, you see, little, I don't even want to say little, that's probably half as big as my damn house is. You see, you see what looks to be actually a fairly nice area. It's not run down with graffiti and shit like that, which, by the way, should any of you go to these locations, I'm telling you straight up, please do not fuck with them. It's pretty much guaranteed every single case that I describe, the locations will either have been torn down and rebuilt, and or will have new owners that already are dealing with, granted they got a good deal because of this, but nonetheless they're dealing with the fact that they live on stigmatized property. What they don't need is some asshole jumping over their fence and crawling over and writing like, I was here because David Parker Ray, but just, don't do shit like that. If you watch Breaking Bad, which I mentioned earlier is probably the greatest show I've ever seen, the poor old woman who lives in the house where Walter throws a pizza on top of, she has been barraged for years from asshole douchebag fans thinking that they're the first and funniest people in the world to go run randomly to her private property that is no longer even a part of the show, which ended years ago, and whip a pizza on top of her roof just so they can take a picture and jerk off to themselves on YouTube or, Facebook or Twit-Twat or whatever the hell, while their friends give them thumbs up. And the poor old woman has to deal with rotten food on top of her fucking roof. Don't do it. Leave these people alone. They're not here for your entertainment. They're not here for your, I'm not trying to be, Mr. High and Mighty here. I love this shit too. If I were here, oh God, believe me, not only would I be here standing as close as my, ankles could get to these fences, I would be taking, footage, video, photos, whatever. But if somebody came out and said, please don't, I would stop. Additionally, I would have at least the politeness to maybe walk around the front of the property and knock on the damn door and ask first if I could even do it. So just show some decorum, show some disrespect, ignore that last part, show some respect, and just treat these people like human beings, because they're just trying to live on with their lives. They're not the ones who did anything. They're just human beings. They're just regular people, presumably. You never know, but you can't just judge everybody like that. So now, anyway, this next door area here, I believe, has remained relatively unchanged. If I remember right, you can go back like 10 years, and this property here, right next to the Parker Ray property, looks pretty much identical, which again, from here it looks, I can't quite tell if it's a house or a business. It looks like a house, it's got a boat, it's got some cars, but there's something about the house that looks impersonal, so I don't know. Regardless, the documentary I keep referencing, I think, begins, or has pretty early on, a cop literally driving right up and being like, so yeah, folks, check this out, and it's like an exact match for what this looks like right now. This right here, encompassing now the entirety of my screen, is David Ray Parker's property. In fact, let's see, I believe I have a YouTube page open right now. That is, yeah, that's YouTube. Here we have Google Maps, which I'll get to shortly. Right there, David Parker Ray, 513 Bass Road, K8, with the police lines still going right across it. And though you can vaguely see it, that's the trailer right back there. Now contrast that with this. A little different. Sadly, I almost just did it again, YouTube. Sadly, Google Earth does not allow you to, drop the camera lower or higher or anything like that. So that's basically what you're reduced to. But I mean, just check that out. I mean, that's just, I find that very eerie for some reason. That, if you were to drive by this home, as I'm sure many people do without knowing what happened here, and a lot happened here, ironically, there's a trailer on the next property next door, which I'm sure nothing's happening in it, but that's still, again, kind of ironic. Coincidental, I should say. But yeah, just like right here was the guy's damn, it's creepy looking back and knowing that the guy just like openly announced himself. Yeah, I'm David Parker Ray, and I live here at this house, and but just horrible things were happening there. And now it's either abandoned, which it does not to me personally look like it is. It's in rough shape. These people fortunately don't apparently have to worry about mowing the grass. There used to be a structure here in the backyard, which you can see. Why am I in that again? Where's Google Earth? Yeah, let me back up a bit again. Don't have to go too back far for this one, I don't think. Or maybe I do. Yeah, either way, there's a large shed or something. That's absolutely not the trailer. I completely guarantee you. I will bet you and win. That's not the trailer. That's the house. That's the trailer. And you'll see why in just a second. This structure, I'm not sure what it is. Like an old greenhouse or something like that. You can vaguely see that this is the back entrance where the poles are that I was just showing you with Parker Ray's name on them. But let me go back. And now you see here the structure, the skeleton of whatever was there is now gone. And again, as you see, when you look at the property, it's there's not a whole lot to it. I mean, the backyard is literally, it abuts against the backyard of a whole other property, so there's no getting in back this way. Right about there was the front yard. In fact, let's just get to the main course, shall we? You've seen it up close, which I will show you again. All right, let's take a quick look onto the internet. There's Google Maps. But let's take a look at the Google search David Parker Ray trailer. Now, when you look at that, you will be met with all manner of horrible images. That one's a little blurry, but still, does that look like a place you really want to spend a lot of time in? There are better ones. Here's a diagram of the trailer, and for the love of all that is fucking holy, like, what the fuck? I mean, just like, what is even, I mean, chains and shit. You know, look, if you guys are into that, which it seems like a lot of people more and more these days are, that's fine, but find a consensual adult to do it with. Don't, you know, just like kidnap women off the street, please. And certainly don't, you know, drug and kill them afterwards. But here's the photo I used for part of my thumbnail. Yeah, look at that. You have a gynecological table with stirrups here where the woman's legs would be, and she's laid back and fucking strapped in. You got belts. You got fucking all kinds of pointy looking and random shit. Here's, you know, cord that probably goes down to the shock machine, which I think is that big black object back there. I can't recall. You've got collars. You've got like literally like surgical robes. What in God's name? I mean, fucking, here's, look at this. Look at this. Why, man? Why? This guy knew what he was doing. He was, you know, I say this without admiration, but I have to be objective. He was knowledgeable. He was patient. He was intelligent. He was, I mean, watch the movie Seven. I think they use the same words. This guy is methodical. He's practiced. He knows what he's doing. This is clearly not his first time doing this, etc., etc. And right there, Cynthia Hendy, if I recall correctly, let's not bother looking at her whole story here. I'll let you guys follow that up. That's what we're looking for. Cynthia Hendy is, to my knowledge, the woman who was ice-picked, who unintentionally allowed the final victim to get away. And in case you're wondering, she's free. She served, I think, roughly half her sentence, I believe. No, she does not have to report to the police where she is or what she's doing. No, she's not obligated to even retain her real name. No, she's not obligated to wear any kind of ankle bracelet or report to the police in any way. As far as the American justice system is concerned, she's a free woman, like any other woman that you might meet. Now, I am certainly not advocating that anyone try to find her and hurt her in any way, though I'm not going to lie and say that she doesn't deserve it, but the simple fact is, she paid her time to whatever extent, I guess, the law found, you know, I guess, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Not valid, but, you know, whatever, worthwhile, I guess, and let her go. And she openly admitted to helping this guy do some of the horrible shit and participate in it with him. And she's one of those people who gets off on the American justice system of saying, well, I'll tell you that I'm guilty because I know that that's going to, like, basically let me walk free, in so many words. And I think that that's the backwardsest assed logic, those are words now, believe me, of anything that, you know, anyone can come up with. You know, look at any case. I was watching Live PD the other day, and someone was accused of it was To Catch a Predator. It was like an old episode of Chris Hansen, and he caught a guy who was like a math teacher, and he finally, after a bunch of hemming and hawing, admitted to what he did, and he got 3 months probation. Why? Because he admitted it. When you admit it, should you not be locked up, you fucking fuckheads? But anyway, regardless, I'm not saying anyone should go find her, but the fact is, you know, she's out there. And if you do find her, it's probably best you stay away from her. As opposed to the guy who strangled Dominique Dunn with his bare hands, which will be the subject of a future episode, in which case I encourage all of you to do the best of your ability to make sure that everybody knows where he is and what he's up to, because fuck that motherfucker. Well, fuck her too, but, regardless. Anyway, there's something I'm looking for. Here's another shot that somebody else took of the same area. There is a really good... a lot of the footage of the... again, watch the documentary, please. It shows a lot of aerial... if I recall correctly, aerial footage of the crime scene as it was unfolding. So you got to see the camera, kind of pan around the whole estate that David Parker Ray lived in. And you got a lot of good, good angles and whatnot. This is them with boxes and boxes of stuff just tearing the whole fucking thing down. It still exists, for those who are wondering. I don't know why, but I think they still have it in evidence or whatever. But yeah, here we go. Here's one quick shot of the trailer again. Right there's your propane tank. Like I said, this photo is facing the... let's see if we can make it a little bit bigger. This photo is facing the northwest. The satellite here is facing the west, northwest, west, more or less west. David Parker Ray's house is right over here, just out of range, just out of shot. And I will find a better picture for you because I know one such exists. Just need a little bit more exploring. That is, from what I understand, David Parker Ray's living room, which any number of opinions can be come up with here. Presumably, this is where he and his buddies had their fucking sex parties with his dogs and shit. I mean, here's a computer, which who knows, it's probably for monitoring his victims. There's a bed there for God knows what. I can't recognize what all this stuff is. Maybe it's benign. I don't know. I like the layout of the place. I like the fact that the living room has sort of like a den with steps going up into, probably more chambers of horror. But just look at this. Just everything about this is weird. But again, there's a dildo with spikes on it, which I don't know what you women are like, but my understanding is that's a little bit larger than the average cock. So, whatever, teach their own. It's a shame. People have mentioned this. He does kind of look like, you might recognize that thumbnail from my video. He looks like a fair enough guy. He was a park ranger. He was an armed park ranger, which helped him to achieve part of what he did. And you see him here, which is, from what the appearance is, he's in court, and he looks almost like he could be played by like kind of a disheveled Kurt Russell, who's one of the sweetest people in the world. And that whole thing's a shame. Everything about this is a shame. If this is a torture box, yeah, clearly it is. I mean, I can only imagine that probably went around a girl's head. But specifically, I apologize that this is taking a while, but there is one photo especially that illustrates, that's what I'm looking for, right there. Here's what you guys wanted to see, since I can read your minds. Right there. That right there is this right there. Again, here's your key. I mean, I'm very methodical when I look up some of these things, and I'm not, against making mistakes. Sometimes it happens, but I did not make one in this case. There's your propane tank. Here's your, alternate, neighbor's garage or shed or whatever. Now let's go back. Now there's your shack. There's your propane tank. Right there is clearly David Parker Ray's house, bordered roughly around here with what you can see is a little bit of fence. That's basically the end of his property. I'm not sure if these structures here are part of his property or not, but I'm thinking they are because you clearly see investigators there near them. And there's your satellite dish, and right there behind the satellite dish, you can see in some other views, which I may not be able to find, right back here is the front entrance to the Chamber of Horrors. So as you can see, all good old Dave had to do was step outside, maybe check some mail or whatever, and walk all of 20 feet to get to his sex slaves. Right there. And that's just... I mean, look at this. He was... Let's go back here. He was not isolated. He was not out in the woods again. Perhaps, I don't know. Perhaps when he made his 93 tape that I transcribed, maybe he was. But at least at the time of his capture, no. These women were just... They had no clue. They literally couldn't, especially the ones who allegedly were killed, they died never knowing that they were in someone's yard. 20, 30, 40 feet away from just other everyday people who had no idea what the fuck was happening here. Clearly what happened was Parker, would go out in his uniform. He was aided by several female accomplices throughout the years. You've already seen the latest one. And he was also aided by, I can't remember his name, and he doesn't deserve to be remembered anyway. He was also aided by somebody who ran a local bar, who knew what David Parker Ray was doing, and he helped him pick up victims. And what the fuck, man? I don't know if the bar still exists. I would be very curious. In fact, really quickly, if I can do this, I'll let you guys linger on this image for a minute as I look on YouTube on my tablet here. Let's see if I can find the name of the bar, because I do remember seeing it referenced. Let's see. The FBI sent 100 agents to examine Ray's property and surroundings, but no identifiable human remains turned up there, which kind of makes you think. Let's see. Here's something of note. Ray took, let's back up a bit, see if we can get the name. The woman who had the tattoo on her ankle. A very lovely woman who appeared on the documentary. Kelly Garrett. Ray had a video of another victim, Kelly Garrett, which dated back to 1996. So, at the very least, you know that, again, when I showed you a little earlier, let's just refresh you really quickly here. Google Maps, we don't need that yet, but we will, sooner or later. Bookmarks and Firefox, that's a totally different thing. This is a totally different thing here. I might as well close that. You're seeing the remnants of past searches and past, whatever, internet usage. What am I looking for? Oh, of course, I'm looking for, I apologize, folks, looking for Google Earth. And I'm looking for the regular view of Google Earth, not Street View. This is not going to really, prove anything, but again, 96, the trailer's still there. Remember that. 1996, what I'm about to describe was taking place, October 1st of 96. I might be able to narrow this down to the exact date. Just give me a moment here. I can get close to that date, which is really kind of almost making my skin crawl a little bit. This photograph specifically was taken on October 1st of 1996. On July 24th of 1996, Ray's daughter, who was friends with this woman named Kelly Garrett, took her to the Blue Water Saloon in Truth or Consequences, I'll have to check and see if that still exists, and drugged the beer she was drinking. Garrett managed, this is the woman, Garrett managed to make it to the parking lot when Ray hit her from behind, knocking her unconscious. Ray took her to his trailer and attached a dog collar and leash to Garrett. Garrett awoke, blacked out several times during 2 days of torture and drugging. During this time, and again, I want to specify, you can see this woman herself on the documentary, and it's really kind of amazing. During this time, Ray noticed she was breathing and slashed her throat open. Thinking he had killed her, Ray dumped her on the side of the road near Caballo. She was later treated for her injuries at a local clinic. Neither her husband nor police believed her story. Her husband believed she had been cheating on him the night she was attacked. He filed for divorce, and Garrett relocated to Colorado. This woman's life was ruined because she dared to go out for a drink with some friends. Because the people who ran the bar were working in conjunction with a state trooper, a park ranger, a park ranger, who were in cahoots with fucking stealing women off the street and drugging their drinks and fucking torturing them. And in some cases, as clearly illustrated here, attempted to kill them. That's fucked up, man. That's just fucked up. This whole thing just gets worse the more you learn about it. But before I forget, since we're on the topic, let me just do a brief search here, if I may. Let's see. What was the name of this called again? Let's see. We have the Blue Water Saloon. Forgive my typing. I'm normally actually fairly quick, but I'm typing with my left hand, and I can't do shit with my left hand. What did I even, like, did I not even, like, click on things hard enough here? There, I clicked with real intent that time. Okay, now it's showing up. Yeah, I'm not ambidextrous, and most people who claim they are still write like shit with their lesser hand, so forgive my slow typing. Yeah, I clearly meant Blue Water Salon. Okay, let's go a little bit more specific. That should be enough. Official page, really? Wow. Wow, it's still around, is it? Not much of a web page. This looks like something out of Shattered Glass, which, if you haven't seen it yet, is one of the best movies ever made. A very, very good a movie about journalism, integrity in journalism. It's far more entertaining than you might think. This looks like somebody's personal blog. So where are we? Here we are, right here. Oh my God! Look at this. This is creeping me out. Honestly, you know, I don't scare easily. This doesn't scare me, but this really kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies. Here are a couple of places in Elephant Butte, a few miles down the road. Blue Water Saloon, Highway 195 and Warm Springs Boulevard, which, yes, my friends, we will find very shortly after I'm done reading this. If there's a local singles bar, this is it. But you better be able to two-step or play pool or forget it. Overpriced, lame services, lots of hats. And by the way, if you go there, you might get abducted, drugged, and killed. That's just like, wow, I can't believe the place even still exists, depending on whenever this blog was written. Just fucking wow. Wow, man, that's all I can say. Singles bar. Does that not shock you? A singles bar. Pool table. If I recall correctly, there was some business involving a pool table, I think, with and nothing major. Not this isn't major, but I think the woman who told her story was, in fact, trying to play pool with just some friends of hers, just, having a, rough day and just, trying to have fun. And next thing she knows, she's got her throat slashed and drugged in a fucking trailer. So here we go. We're Highway 95 and Warm Springs Boulevard. Let's see if we can see any of that before actually having to do a Google search for it, because being a male, I'm lazy. I don't look for directions. I try to. It's honestly, part of it's just the fun. I like finding the stuff on my own. I like actually stumbling, and oh my God, there it is, that kind of thing. But I need to zoom out a ways for any of these street names to show up. Let's see. What are we looking for again? Highway 195 and Warm Springs Boulevard. Springland Boulevard, rather. Hot Springs Landing, a whole lot of springs in this area, apparently. I'm just very curious to see how close the bar was to where this woman was abducted, as to where Parker Ray stole her from. Okay, for your own people's sake, I will, in fact, just look it up, because it's possible this could take a while, and I don't want to waste your time. I do talk a lot, and while I've been encouraged by those who know me not to worry about it, my voice supposedly is pleasant to listen to, or so I've heard. As I do this, let me tell you a story really quick, and it will be very quick. I used to work at a bookstore, Barnes & Noble, and I worked back in the DVD/music section, and everybody hated doing the night. I've probably already passed it like a million times, in which case I apologize. At the end of the night, everybody hated to do the closing announcement. Just no one liked doing it for various reasons. And one day on my first couple of weeks working at the store, I sort of earned my place there among the employees when I said, well, fuck it, I don't care, I'll do it. Which is weird coming from somebody who says that he's shy. But, I don't care if people see my photo or at least see my voice, whatever, and YouTube here is making me come out of my shell a little bit more. I'll talk about all this stuff in the future, should any of you care to hear it. But the point is, on this particular day, I said, I'll do it. They said, good, you can. You do it. So as the night wore on, and it got to be about, 8:50 p.m. or whatever, I pressed the button. I was told what to do. I was left to my own devices as the other employees went to their, closing shift areas. And here's what was said. I pressed the button, and my speech was, hello, Barnes & Noble customers. The time is now 8:55, and your Barnes & Noble store will be closing in 5 minutes. Please bring any final selections you might have to the front registers where a cashier will be happy to assist you. For your convenience, we open again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Thank you and have a good night. You know, just something like that. Nothing, just, I read the script. And one by one, this is them talking, not me. One by one, each of my fellow employees that night, we're talking maybe like a dozen people, stepped back and they were like, was that you? And I felt so ashamed. I was like, oh my god, I ruined it, didn't I? I totally fucked up. And they were like, fucked up, right? Like, they were like, dude, you sounded like a literal tape sent to us from Barnes & Noble. You did not sound like a human being. You sounded like somebody who was actually hired to do this job specifically. And I'm like, oh, I guess I, like, did okay then? And they were like, you can do this every night if you want to. And, you know, that was just kind of neat. It sort of parallels with all the wonderful compliments many of you have given me on the, you know, the alleged talent of my voice, my reading, my supposed voice acting. I'm no professional. I have no training. I'm just a guy. And I just have a voice that I guess happens to lend itself well. I'm reasonably intelligent. And, you know, I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just saying I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy who's not an idiot. And I can read fairly well. And I guess just I have a speaking voice that seems to appeal to a lot of people in certain situations. And for those of you who have complimented it, it really does mean a lot to me. I don't say that lightly. That is a very sincere thank you to those of you who have been, you know, supporting me through this project. But enough of that. Let's now, I need to, it's been a while since I did this, view sidebar, I believe. Okay, and one more time, let's look up what that address was. Actually, we don't need to look it up. We just need to go to that other page. Highway 195 and Warm Springs Boulevard, and I'm guessing if it's still there, Google Earth will in fact fill in the blanks for me. Man, does anyone else feel really uncomfortable about that? Let's take a look here. So David Parker Ray had to go, oh, I don't know. Let's see. Roughly a mile and a half to pick up his prey. Now, curiously, I do not see a bar anymore. In fact, I see nothing. It looks as if maybe, unless that's it right there. Let's take a quick look, folks. This is the whole point of me doing this project. I want you to be informed, as much as I am, in fact, informing myself. Let's see, what do we have? What do we have? Hot Springs Landing, Elephant Butte, lots of contradictory signs. Visitor Center, really? Oh my god, he probably worked over here. Ugh. Yep. That would have been where the bar is, right there. Roadies. Unfortunately, I can't zoom in any closer. I can gain a little bit of extra space by doing this, but it's not going to make much of a difference. Roadies, yeah, I don't know what that is. Some stuff over here is blanked out, though you can still see through it. Something magistrate. Yeah, presumably, this is the first I've learned of the address, so I don't know. Maybe it could be over, you know, could have been over here. Maybe that's obviously a storage locker from the appearance of it. That's where it looks like people store their campers and yachts. I mean, look, again, this is not a poor area. People do not have campers that big in a poor area. This is a town, you guys. This is an actual, you know, again, maybe not a huge bustling city, but let's look that up really quickly. Out of anyone who, you know, may be curious, let's take a look really quickly. Go to my best friend Wikipedia, which I'm sure a lot of you people, you know, the old days of people saying Wikipedia is pointless. Anyone can write on it. If you guys have actually ever looked at a Wikipedia article that was vandalized, that shit is nipped in the bud usually like within like 11 seconds of that happening, because this site is run by people who are either very diligent or have even less lives than I do. And what am I looking at here? I'm all confused now as I complain. I guess, should we be looking up Elephant Butte or Truth? Fuck it, let's look up Elephant Butte. I'm just looking up the, oh, that is a village. 1,431 people. Just out of curiosity then, let's see, do they mention Truth or Consequences here? They should. They even mentioned David Parker Ray, which, fairly enough. Suspected as having murdered as many as 60 people while living there. Is Truth or Consequences not in here anywhere? I do not know why it wouldn't be listed as a... Come on, man. There we go, thank you. I don't want to type all that. It's too many letters. This is a very small place, actually, very small place. This is really more on the lines of a village. A total of about 8,000 people between the two areas. That's pretty small. Pretty small place. Well, anyway, yeah, what I was going to say is, the days of Wikipedia being regarded as a place where, anyone can write anything, that's a commonly misheld belief. Yes, you can, but first you have to sign up, and then you have to make an account, and then you have to go edit the article, and then you have to contend with all the people who immediately jump on your article to, undo your changes, because there are a lot of power Nazis out there, and in this case, they're on the right. They're, in the correct. Apparently that business didn't want to be viewed. Just for anyone who doesn't know this, anyone who does not want their business or home to be shown on Google Maps, Google Earth, whatever, all they have to do is write to the company and ask. So, there are websites out there that say, oh, nefariously, there's this weird... Well, maybe. Or what happened was they just wrote and said, hey, can you maybe just take my sign off your, site or whatever? And that's really all it takes. So don't read too much into shit like that. But anyway, yeah, over here, or my personal belief is over here in this very clearly recently deserted... Again, I don't know why it's kind of blurry. You can very easily see Ron Brown for city magistrate, whatever. Roadies, RV stop, all wide doors, etc. Yeah, you can just clear. I'm sorry, you can clear. You can see clearly this is a turnabout. This is what used to be a, place to be at some point. It could have been storage, yes, but I am guessing the bar was over here. One last look. Probably doesn't mean much of anything, but again, I'm doing this for, my sake as well as yours. I think you guys might find this interesting. If not, I apologize. You can always, I guess, quit the video and leave me thumbs down and an angry comment and punch the screen, but whatever. Ah, big food. Okay, well, that sure is a place I'd want to eat at. Anyway, yeah, this to me looks like an area where a bar would have sat right about there. I could be incorrect. Again, it could be over here. It could be, for all I know, across the street over here somewhere. It does not appear that well. No, it's a bank. You don't see too many bars being converted into banks. Or it could be in this little area down here. Again, I would have to watch the documentary again, but the documentary shows the poor victimized woman actually... I'm sorry, folks. I love it. Don't show my signs. Okay, we won't. On that picture. Anyway. So we have Barrett Appraisal. We have what looks like the... Please don't tell me it says Peking Dog. I don't know. We have the Chamber of something. And lastly, we have something we can't make out. A lot of people really wanting to have their area hidden, which I can't say that I blame them, given the notoriety of the area. I don't know if that's the, impetus behind this. Can't quite read what that says. Something sales. Watch sales? I don't know. Either way, I would love to see the documentary again. If you guys go to watch it, you may very well recognize some of these spots because they show the poor woman who had the tattoo and her knife slashed who escaped. And maybe the bar was right here. And they show her walking through the bar and visiting the, revisiting the worst moments in her entire life. Or at least the ones just before the worst moments in her life. And it was right around here, apparently. Anyway, sorry for that side tangent. Maybe you enjoyed it. I don't know. I just find it very interesting that, wherever it was, we had a guy saying, oh, hey, yeah, people go and check out that bar, where I won't bother to mention, or apparently had no fucking clue, I don't know which is worse, many people were abducted and potentially killed from. Ugh. So there you have it, folks. That is the David Parker Ray property. That is, without question, that did nothing whatsoever, that is, without question, the torture chamber, right there. Front, torture bed, gynecological table, whatever back there. Locks, metal doors, etc. And your, landmark propane tank. One last thing to show you, and then I'll let you wonderful people get on with your lives. I'm going to give you the street view of space, you know, as it goes. No. I'm going to give you the street view of... Oh, that's just so creepy to me that he was that fucking close. Right there. Just that. I mean, you could literally walk there. You could walk there and capture people. It'd be a lot harder, but whatever. I will give you a street view of... I will give you two, because only two are available. And I did a little bit of this before, but let's take another quick look. Now again, the neighbor's property, if that's a house, it looks like a very minimalist house. I see no pottery. I mean, there's a little bit of, you know, foliage or whatever, but all I see is just a couple of, you know, wrapped up boats. So I'm guessing this is just kind of like a temporary, like, summer storage type of place. I don't know if that's an actual residence. Regardless, that has remained roughly unchanged over the years. That is 511 bass. Again, leave it alone, please. 513 bass, leave that one alone too while you're at it. Is where we have the sad remains of a location that housed a sad, pitiful man. A man who needed to use his authority and weapons and the help of devious accomplices to overpower people that were, in his mind, weaker than himself, which I guess maybe to him that proved true until, oops, the day it wasn't. And it looks, I do not believe that's graffiti, though it could be. I think that's just, there's no way to get back there. This is this is the end of the road. That's a backyard back there. I think that's just, yeah, that's just shit falling apart. That's just an old beat up, back of a garage or whatever. So here he had his awning. This was the side of his house. Nice, pretty. That was probably, the trailer was probably placed right in view of the side windows there where they could keep an eye on it. I don't even know the stress of what it would be like having a trailer where you had a captive that would be able to bring down the rest of your life, but they apparently had no problem with it. But then you got your oft-mentioned propane tank right there. And as you continue to go west, this place looks very disheveled. It looks very... It looks to be in a state of disrepair. I don't even know what half the shit is. That looks like a big pile of, papery wood. I see old bricks. That used to be, the house for what appeared to be, a boat of something like that. Again, you're looking right where the trailer would have been. There's your propane tank marker. Right there. Right there. Let's back out a bit. Right there. Mere feet away from a house. Perhaps an occupied house, I don't know. Not far from a lake. Not a whole lot of options. She wasn't living, these people that were trapped in there were not living in the midst of, New York. Although, look up Gary Heidnick. There are people who did do shit like that. But yeah, this whole time. It's just amazing. Look at this. This is not an isolated area. It's a rather nice looking house right there. Somebody out there enjoying their decks. Sitting out there in lawn chairs, sipping some Mai Tais or whatever. And gazing out on the reservoir, having no idea. I don't mean to laugh, but just it's remarkable to me, having no idea that the sheer horror, capital H horror, that was happening right there. And the final thing I will show you will be, let's just minimize. Let's see. Minimize Google Earth. I will scroll briefly just to show you a couple more shots. This is not what I was referring to when I said that I would show you one more thing, but just while I'm at it, I will show you this other thing as well. I'm not going to sit and wait for pages to load. I'm just going to show you the videos. You want to be in a place where that stuff's going to be used against you? Again, if you do, that's fine. But as long as you know how code words work and so forth. I would assume that at least in the 90s, most people did not want to be, associated with all this equipment, for lack of a better word. She escaped the toy box. Now, really briefly, is this the woman I've been referring to? Because if so, she looks very much different than she looked in the documentary. Cynthia Vigil, I believe that's her. I think that's the woman in the documentary I've been referring to. So if you want to read her story, look up Cynthia Vigil. Read some of these books, Cries in the Desert. You know, just do some research, you know, just check this guy out. I mean, look at him again, right there. He looks just like a guy. Just like a regular old guy, like maybe like a grandpa sort. He was, I believe, in his mid-late 50s when he was caught doing what he did. And again, for the person who doesn't want to hear me speak in his voice, hold off for a minute. But just look at this guy right there, and just imagine that face glaring down at you while your legs are wide open, while you're laying naked in a room smeared with like dog essence or whatever the fuck. As that guy looked down at you and said, you know, you're not going anywhere. I'm going to tell you that my dog is going to put his penis into you, and you're going to sit there and you're going to like it because you're a bitch and you're not going anywhere. Just fuck this guy, man. Ugh. Fucking comics and drawings and just instructional shit. I mean, really? Yeah, well, that's enough. But the last thing I do want to show you is, I believe, there's another shot of Cynthia Vigil. The thing I do want to show you is, I believe, not on this screen. It is, there is a very early, apparently, a sex machine that the porn industry now uses something similar for fun. I don't have the highest thoughts of the modern sex industry. It's a lot of screaming and fakery and spitting and yanking things wide open, so I'm not really a big fan. But anyway, side story for another time. What am I looking for? I'm sorry, people. This is what I was looking for. Okay, I have so many things open and so many thoughts in my head of where to go next. I just wanted to show you that on Google Maps, rather than Google Earth, you can actually adjust the timeline of the footage, the shots that you're looking at. Google Earth, once you go to Street View, you are only allowed to look at whatever Street View year it wants you to see. You can literally be going down a road and it can switch arbitrarily between 2016 and 2014. You can't control which. That's just the way it's programmed. In Google Maps case, you can actually dictate. Right here, see, we're looking at the same footage we've been looking at, which is, not footage, I'm sorry, but photography from May 2014. While it does not go too far back, sadly, Google Earth, Google Maps, whatever, do not go as far back as when the trailer still would have been there, but it does go back roughly 8 years, 6 years at least. So, just out of curiosity, this is what David Parker Ray's property looked like back in 2008. As you see, like I mentioned, the controls are different between Google Earth and Google Maps. I'm sorry, so I apologize for kind of not quite remembering what buttons do what, and it'll take a minute. This looks like a cop car sitting there. That would be really coincidental. I'm sure it's just the weeds creating that. Why can't I operate this fucking thing? I like Google Maps' way of navigation way better. Yeah, that honestly kind of looks like a cop car, but I think it's just the brush or whatever making it look like it's got writing on its side. But that's not what you came here for. You wanted to see the property, and again, here it is. It almost, I mean, I guess this goes without saying, but it looks nicer back then. If you, it has a crookedness I can't stop it from having. But if you look at what the property looked like back then, it looked better kept. More well-kept, I should say. Has a little bit less crumbling going on around there. You can see it a little bit more clearly because the trees are not in bloom. So you can see the awning there, which looked to be occupied by trucks or something. There is the old standby giveaway propane tank. There is the standby giveaway gates with the open rear exit, or I guess that would be the front exit, actually. This is the front yard. This is the front yard. This is someone's front yard. Not much of one, in my opinion, but whatever. I've seen worse. I've certainly seen better. But, yeah, this is, once again, I will point it out for the 1000th time. Right there. Right there. is where the trailer would have been. And sadly, this is the farthest back that we can look as far as first-hand, first-person perspective view. And I will take this moment once again to say, please, if you have seen my video, my transcript reading, which, yet again, is probably why anyone would be watching this right now, look in the description, watch the video. If you look up David Parker Ray, I think that same documentary is the first thing that comes up in the search results. I think my video is number 2 or 3, I can't quite recall. So I don't remember the exact order, but I don't remember the name of the documentary. We can solve that right now, in fact, actually. You know what, let's just do that really quickly. You've seen the location. So let's quickly go to YouTube, and I will tell you the exact name of what to look for. Let's see. I know what all those references are too. But what we're looking for is, let's just look up David Ray Parker and see what comes up. I'm sorry, David Parker Ray. There's my video right there. Just out of curiosity, just so you can hear it, because I don't say this to be proud of myself. I say this because a lot of people seem to not believe it. Listen to me talking to you right now. Now listen briefly to this.
I bet. If you get a chance to talk at all.
Let's go back to the beginning. Everyone loves the beginning.
Hello there, bitch.
Hello there, bitch. That's me, folks. Regardless. This is what you're looking for. The sex chamber. That's what you want to see. That is a very, very good documentary. Watch this. I don't know if I can include any footage, so I won't, but The Sex Chamber is very good. It is very worth watching. It's illuminating. It includes several of the clips that I got from the transcript, as well as, curiously, a couple of brief audio snippets that are not on his transcript, suggesting to me that they have access to more tapes that have not been released. So, if I ever find them, I'll do them, but I am not aware of them. So, there you go, folks. That has been your trip through the general, I guess, I don't know what to say, trappings, location. I wanted you to get a feel for what the area looked like. Again, when you listen to the tape, he describes living in the mountains, which if he did, he sure as fuck didn't in '96. He lived in the flatlands, which, yes, to be fair, were surrounded by mountains, but he didn't live in, you know, the deep, dark forest. But he did live, he was correct, he lived in a very, I mean, if he somehow made his way out here and dropped a girl off, let's say, right there, she would have had, okay, well, to be fair, she would have had too long to walk. But you see what I'm saying. Look at this, people. Look at this. This is a very easy spot to probably dispose of a corpse, or corpses, plural. So, in case some of you were wondering, in case some of you wanted to get your bearings as to what the general area looked like, that was the point of this video. That will continue to be the point of these various videos, and I hope you have been, if not entertained, by my particularly weird, yet sympathetic, yet obnoxious, and very talkative, and kind of politically incorrect style of humor. I hope that you've enjoyed what I've been able to bring you. If not, I apologize. I can only do what interests me and what I hope will interest others. And the final thing I want to leave you with is, again, two things. From this point forward, if you liked what you saw, but didn't want to hear me ramble and just blather and blather and blather, I promise you future episodes will be shorter than this. This one needed a lengthy intro, an explanation for why I was doing what I was doing. I wanted to illustrate to those who were curious about the video that, yes, I'm the one who did it. There are people who say, no, this is a professional voice actor. No, it's just me. It's just a guy. I'm just a dude. I'm just whatever. It's no offense, but it's nothing special. It was just a guy reading a tape, and I just put work into it to try and make it sound accurate. The point is, this is the last thing I wanted to say. I, again, want to reiterate that I sincerely appreciate everything you guys have said. There have been very, very, very few people who have had anything negative to say about my reading. They're disgusted by the content, as well they should be. That's normal. I do not take offense when you say, I don't know how I feel about this, because it's really kind of disturbing and I don't like it. That's how it's supposed to be. That's what the material is. It is disturbing. You shouldn't like it. If you do, I have nothing to say. That's up to you. You have, your own, inclinations or whatever to work through. My point is, for those of you who have argued over thinking that it's the real thing, for those of you who have congratulated me on my alleged high-quality voice acting, etc., that encourages me more than 100 upvotes ever could, honestly. Like I said, I'm not in this for the money. I'm not in this for the fame. I'm not in this for, to get noticed. This began as a channel for me to fuck around with and share my interests and hope that somebody else would also find those interests interesting. I don't know what TikTok is. I don't know who Bailey is, other than what I've been told. She seems cool. I don't know what has caused the literal, perpetual, non-stop uptick in interest in my video. All I can say is I hope that something else on my channel keeps you interested enough, because it's not just a true crime channel. You have to keep that in mind, but I'm going to try and work on that a little bit with videos such as these. So just on my way out, I just want to let you know that I hope that something on my channel is able to at least keep you occupied, keep you remembering that you had some fun on it, whatever, that maybe you might want to check back on it from time to time just to see if there's more stuff like what you are watching now. As I close, I hope you enjoyed it. I apologize if you didn't, and one more time, sincerely, thank you, all of you, very, very much, who have given me so many wonderful words, so many encouraging comments about what you interpret to be my great ability to do this voice. Again, my intentions were to let other people know that this person was out there, that he was evil, and that he had a detached, casual, just wretchedness to him, and that's what I wanted to communicate. And the fact that landed, the fact that so many of you really picked up on that and thought that I did a great job, that means the world to me. So sincerely, I really appreciate it. So you guys are great. I hope that my channel continues to entertain you. I hope that you check back from time to time and just continue to, like stuff like this. If not, hey, there's other stuff that's way lighter than this. There's some video game stuff. There's some comedic stuff, whatever. Have fun. Do your thing. And again, you should never feel obligated to upvote me. You should never feel obligated to subscribe to me. I will never ask you for any of those things, because I personally believe that the people who demand, beg, whatever, it helps me so much, to me that's e-begging. To me that's pathetic. To me that's an insult to your intelligence. You will like what you like, and you should vote accordingly. So if you didn't stick around, all I can do is shrug and say, I'm sorry. To those of you who did, I will simply say thank you. It means a lot to me. So here's hoping that I see you guys on the next one. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed making it for you, and I learned a little something, and hopefully you did too. So see you next time. This is Mike the Rat Guy / I calls him like I sees him, signing out.